Hi guys, this is Pai and welcome to our last episode of this podcast series. This is live actions remakes versus animated classic. This podcast series is focusing on compare and contrast two Disney movies that have a live adaptation such as Cinderella and maybe even Little Mermaid, which will come out maybe a few years from now on, for example here. Anyway, in this episode, we will focus on compare and contrast the animated film Mulan and the live action remakes through feminist lens. Oh, by the way, we will only focus on the main characters Mulan in this podcast, meaning I will not talk about the setting or the other characters such as Mushu, Chang, Yao, or even Xianpo. Well, now that's out of the way, let's begin. So let's start with Mulan from 1998. Mulan in the animated movie is a relatable character who has many flaws and didn't find her place in the world just like many of us university students who do not know what we want to do in our lives. Mulan is not a perfect daughter who meets the society expectation, which is being perfect lady and married into a good home. She is not poised or elegant. She is a bit tomboyish. For example, in the scene when she arrived at a place I assume to be a spa or maybe a salon, when she dropped off from the horseback, you can see that there's a rice or maybe a wheat stuck on her hair. Like not just a grain of rice or wheat, but the whole thing just stuck in her hair. Don't you think that if she was elegant, she wouldn't let this happen, being messy and all? During the song Honor to Us All, after Mulan got all prim and pretty, she rushed to the other village girls. She looked at the girl in front of her to copy her actions such as how to hold the umbrella correctly. But probably the most important scenes to prove this is the moment Mulan was judged by a matchmaker. The matchmaker's first impressions of Mulan is not good, to say so in the least, because the first thing she told Mulan was too skinny, not good for bearing son, or something along that line. Mulan also didn't fit in with the army as well, because the moment she walked into the camp, every soldier just looked at her weirdly because of how she walked. In addition, Mulan failed many training sessions such as catching fish and doing close combats. She failed so hard that Chang, her captain, pretty much gave up on her, gave up on turning Mulan into a real man. She was only accepted by her comrade Yao, Lin, and Xianpo, and her captain when she proved herself that she is as capable as them by retrieving an arrow that Chang shot before the song began from the top of the ginormous wooden pole. This development shows that even women can be as capable as men if she works hard enough, and then they will accept her as part of their group. Not only Mulan is a relatable character for many people, she also shows that being feminine is not a weakness. She showed that it is okay to be feminine or girly, and you don't have to be masculine to be successful like Captain Marvel, for example, here. When the Huns, who survived from a snowslide, captured the emperor, Mulan showed the soldiers another way to rescue him, which is cross-dressing. The cross-dressing helped Mulan and her friends to infiltrate the palace without alerting the Han soldiers. One of them even fell for Lin, who was cross-dressing at that time. Last but not least, when the leaders of the Huns had a showdown with Mulan on the rooftop, Mulan used a fan to snatch his sword with such swift movement that it threw him off a bit. The fan is mostly associated with femininity, like when Mulan was holding a fan during the matchmaker scenes, or when Yao, Ling, and Xianpo cross-dressed to rescue the emperor. They also have fans too. The fact that the director decided to choose a fan from Mulan to turn the table instead of making her do close combats or something else could be interpreted that even a seemingly harmless woman can defeat a huge scary man with her quick thinking. Next is Mulan from the live-action movie. She is a very interesting character because despite the fact that the setting and the plot is very similar to the original movie with a few differences here and there, Mulan in this movie is a different person compared to the original movie. Firstly, right after Mulan's father monologue ended, we are greeted with the chicken chasing scene, with young Mulan using a pole to chase the chicken. At one point, she was almost fell from the roof, but thanks to her natural talent with tree power, which is a power desired by all warriors in China, she was able to save herself from falling to death by using what I assume to be martial arts moves. She also be able to fit in with the men quite well, without any of them being suspicious of her at all, because no one gave her those weird looks. The only thing weird about her was she was tiny compared to the other men. Furthermore, during the training sessions, she was probably the best soldier out of everyone in the camp. She is the only one who can shoot the arrow farthest, and she is the first to complete the training of walking to the top of the hills while carrying buckets of waters. In addition, she was considered by her love interest as the best soldier in the group. Not only does she fit in with the soldiers quite well, she actually could meet the expectations of her family and the society placed on her, which is to get married into a good home. During the matchmaker scenes, the matchmaker was listing all the traits a good wife should have, and if you listen to her words carefully, you could hear the matchmaker complimented Mulan by saying, quiet, composed, graceful, elegant, poised, polite. These are the qualities we are seeing in good wives. These qualities we see in Mulan. Meaning, if Mulan's sister arachnophobia didn't kick in, causing a mess leading to Mulan failing her test, Mulan would be married into a good home, and the rest of the movie would probably never happen, as she would have another obligation to attend to. So in short, Mulan is perfect in every way. She doesn't have any flaws as far as I can see. Even though the scene when Hua Jun was killed by the witch of Mulan supposed to be symbolize Mulan accepting her femininity, with her throwing away her armors which conceals her feminine physical traits. Is she truly embracing her femininity? Unlike Mulan from 1998, who can show that being feminine can be as strong as men, Mulan in the live-action movie barely showed her feminine side, even after her gender-revealing scenes. Right after Mulan got expelled from the army, she cried for a bit. However, the movie never let us see Mulan's crying face, as is what hidden by her hair and many different camera angles, as if is ashamed to show herself crying. Why does crying matter? The action of crying is seen as feminine thing because men tend to cry lesser than women. One of the reasons why men crying less than women is that they were told something like "man up" or "boys don't cry" when they were younger. These kind of phrases can hurt them because it implies that real men don't show their weaknesses, and the notion that men should be strong and do not show their emotions is what people call toxic masculinity, which this kind of behavior can cause mental distress to them. Thus, Mulan, who never shows us her crying face, is play into the toxic behavior. While rescuing the emperor, Mulan only shows her masculine side, which is sword fighting and martial arts. For example, when she led a battalion to save the emperor, she had to get in the palace somehow. And what did she do? She used her strength to force her way in by letting other soldiers fight the Roland soldiers. When she fought the leader of the Rolands, or Boricon, she only used martial arts to win against him with a little help from the emperor. She never used her feminine side to help during these rescue missions, unlike Mulan from the original movie. And that is all I have to say about the two movies. So what do all these points I made mean, you may ask? In conclusion, I believe that woman representation in Mulan, the original movie, is much better than the representation in the live-action remakes, because what Mulan in the animated film shows is that women can work well in the male-oriented workplace if we work hard enough. Mulan also shows that being feminine is not a weakness. Being feminine can be as strong as being masculine. On the other hand, Mulan from the live-action shows that women can only work and be accepted in the male-oriented workplace if she can act like a man. And femininity is a sign of weakness. With that out of the way, this is the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for listening, especially if you have watched all of the episodes in our series. Though this series has come to an end, I hope you consider subscribing to this channel because there's so many good videos here from my friends from the other sections. That is all I have to say, and I hope you have a good time here while it lasts. Goodbye. See you soon.